I realize it's usually the reviews that I have trouble trying to figure out whether I like them or not that are the lowest rated reviews that I have watched, like on YouTube. Like, the sole thumbs down I have is on Texas Chainsaw, and I still cannot make up my mind whether that was a good movie or a terrible movie. And I think I finally reached that point with a game. And this is a game I wasn't excited about to begin with. Ever since Uncharted 3 and its abysmal storytelling and failure, like, my opinion, Uncharted 3 ruined the series for me. It ruined the character of Nathan Drake. The villain was underwhelming. They kept on saying how she's going to be the psychological villain. 5 minutes later, after she gives away his secret, he's like, oh, okay, whatever. And it ruined her entire character of being this intelligent villain. And then there's just the pacing, the bodyguard who was more of a threat than her, and that's saying nothing because he was the same. He looked exactly like Flynn from the second Uncharted. Not Flynn the cat. Hi, Rengar. Hi, Bijou. Cats are surrounding us. And then The Last of Us was announced, and I'm like, okay, this could be interesting. They're doing zombies, but instead of just zombies, it's going to be fungus zombies. The more I heard about it, though, the less excited I got. And it kind of made me sad, because a lot of it, I'll admit, was biased from Uncharted 3 leaking through. So I decided to rent it on Redbox for a couple days and see if my opinion's changed. It has. I'm even more disappointed. Now, this is the bitch of reviewing the game. This game's had straight A's across the board, except for Joystick, who gave it a 7.5. Semi just drove by. They gave it a 7.5 because for a horror game that's supposed to be of this magnitude, this emotional, powerhouse, it relies too much on conventions of the first-person or third-person shooter. Hide behind cover, peek out, take out guys, advance once the room is clear. And it really does. That's not my problem with it. My problem isn't the story, which is at once pretty much a ripoff of Enslaved, literally. I'm not even saying the game, I'm saying the book. You have to guide this character, you have to guide Ellie west to the capital, and then further west, and then further west. It's the same plot as Enslaved, except they put zombies in it instead of robots or monsters. Hell, you even have Pigsy, except his name is Bill. But, it was an interesting retelling of it. The story's really good. I'll admit right now, I didn't finish it because I only rented it for 2 days, but I do plan on finishing it once I get more funds. The reason I'm reviewing it right now is because I've literally done everything that this game has to offer. I wasn't even a third way through it. I got to a point where it's like, okay, let me see if there's anything else I have to do in this game that's new, novel. Like, I have to admit, I did like the fact that Ellie couldn't swim, so you have to find pallets that are floating, so she'll hop on, and you can swim, taking her to another area so she can help you get across. Those puzzles were pretty clever, until they got overused. The, generators. Pull the lever at the right time. Every game does that anymore. I will applaud them for not having quick time events, though. Too much. The ones they did have worked. But it got to the point where everything in the game, constructing items, making weapons or melee weapons, advancing melee weapons, I should say, putting a pair of scissors on a pipe. It's like, okay, I've done everything. That's it? There are literally 3 different puzzles. The pallets, the generators, and then there's like... I'm trying to remember what it was. I've had very little sleep and I've been working all day, so give me a break. The monster variety, you have the bloaters, which... they're taken right out of Dead Island, I think. They vomit at you. And they're hard to kill. The clickers, which... that was a pretty interesting idea. I did like the clickers, except for the fact they have one-hit kills! Everything has one-hit kills, and I will get back to that when I talk about the combat, because this is the thing that really fucking pisses me off, is the combat in this game. But, you know, even the human enemies, while not varied, are interesting because you can listen to their conversations. One part of the game, you and Ellie are escaping, and you hear these guys going, 2 tourists took out our entire group? What the fuck? There's no way. It can't just be 2 tourists. It has to be the military. And they can't believe that, technically, it's only one guy at this point doing this. And it's overwhelming them. It's just not the fear of, hey, our guys are being taken out, just the confusion of, one guy is able to take out 50 people? No. That was pretty realistic. I did like that. I loved how the story is told. I thought some of the acting was hit and miss, but I'll just say this much. Tess. I thought... well, Tess and Marlene. And that's because early in the game, you don't know who the fuck anyone is. And that is my pet peeve about the story in this game. You're... the first part, the tutorial, if you can call it that, you're playing as one of the character's daughters. And then something happens, and you start playing as another character. Then you play as Joel. And then, you know, it keeps going on like that, and you play as Joel throughout the rest of the game. Or the tutorial. Then, it's like 20 years later, key point there, 20 years later, because I will get back to that. You're playing as Joel still, and Tess walks in, you don't know who the hell Tess is. She goes, we gotta find Robert. Our Robert? Yeah, he tried to kill me. Who the fuck is Robert? He also, and then you find out later, oh, Robert's talking to Marlene. Who the... there is no context at all. And while I was like, oh, you'll find out later who these characters are, I still can't tell you who Robert is. All I know is he's this bad guy that tried to kill her because they stole their guns. And no one says why. It's like, oh, or you eventually find out, oh, Robert did this for them. That's why he took the guns. And then you're like, okay, so when... there's no context in the very beginning. And that is the big stumbling block for me. And that, like I said, that's a pet peeve. That's a personal thing for me. I did not like the entire beginning of the game, story-wise, because of that. But once you got to the middle, once you know, met Ellie, once you met Bill, once Tess goes away, the story gets really good. It's the gameplay that really holds this back. Now, I mentioned this is 20 years after the tutorial. Hang on. And Joel's character gets built up. You know, what he was doing through these 20 years. You find out that he was one of the bandits. He was holding people up to get supplies and food. At gunpoint. He was violent. He was trying to survive. So please, Naughty Dog, if anyone from your company is watching this, tell me after 20 fucking years, this guy can't aim a gun. Seriously, he's going like this constantly. I've been in the military 3 years and I can shoot better than him. Well, technically I was in it for 8 years, but 3 years active. Hell, I could shoot better than that when I was 16. The combat, If you grab a melee weapon, a pipe, good luck using it because everyone else is faster than you. By the time you get one hit in, you're half dead. I can understand that with the monsters, but when a guy runs up going, "Argh!" while you're going like that and you're still getting hit 3 times in the process of him swinging, that's not right. Your fists should not be more useful than weapons in this game. I killed more enemies in this game punching them out, not just sneaking, punching them, than I did shooting or using a melee weapon. Unacceptable. Especially, like I said, with him having experience in fighting and shooting for 20 years. Let me put this in perspective. In Condemned 1, your character, being an FBI agent, knew how to use a gun, and he could shoot straight. Condemned 2, he couldn't because he was a functioning alcoholic. The only way he could shoot straight is if he had a drink. Why did it work? They explained it. They explained his handicap of not being able to shoot, well, other than it was supposed to be a melee game in the first place, by a plausible reason. When you build up this character to being a hardcore survivalist, how he had to fight to survive, and then every time he's in a fight, he fails? The combat system is easily the weakest point of this game. And that's what pisses me off, because, well, yes, it's a survival horror game. It's more survival horror than the games that we've had before. Let me rephrase that. The emphasis isn't on horror in The Last of Us. It's on survival. So yes, he would have the combat skill, he would have the experience. It would be everything else that's emphasized. Hiding from the monsters, like the clickers. You don't want to try to take them in, melee combat. They kill you in one hit. The infected, you can kill them in melee combat, though. The bloaters, you have to figure out how... Even the humans, you have to figure out how you're going to sneak around, how you're going to survive a fight with them. That's how you do survival on this. The combat would be absolutely necessary. And yet, it seems so secondary to this game that it just... That was easily the part of the game that pissed me off so much that there are times I just had to stop playing. There's also the fact that everyone has been saying how emotional this game is, how they're attached to the characters. Personally, I wasn't. I could give this probably is because I'm still pretty early in the game. Like I said, it's not really fair that I'm reviewing it this early. And this is less of a review and more of a rant. But Joel, yeah, I can feel for. He's lost everything. Ellie, I still don't know a damn thing about her other than she's obnoxious as hell, character-wise. She's useful. She is useful. Like, if an enemy's attacking you, before she has a gun, because she does shoot at them once every blue moon, she'll throw bricks at them, or glass bottles, distracting them so you could get an edge on them. And I did like that. But then she'll walk around whistling going, "Hey, I can whistle." Whoa. Kudos! You can do what a lot of people can do. A more useful talent would be being double jointed. That way you could crawl through the vents faster. I mean, I understand that they tried to make her likable, but the relationship, the chemistry's not there for the player. At least not a player like me. I'm cynical at points, and I was very cynical of her, mainly because I knew what this game was trying to do. It was trying to do what Telltale's Walking Dead did. Make a child character, in Walking Dead's case Clementine, into a very important, likable character. But it didn't work for me. What it came off as was Ellie's here because she has to be. And it felt more like an obligation, especially since the only way NPCs can die, as far as I've seen, is if a monster grabs them, like a clicker, that would normally kill you instantly, and you don't help them out. They don't help you out when the clicker's attacking you. But you have to help the NPCs out, and you have a lot of time to do it if a clicker's attacking them. Or they can fight it off. The game's very balanced against the player in that regard. Another good thing, another good piece of evidence that's balanced against the player, every time you get hit with a bullet, you're knocked down. Every time you shoot an enemy, they stand there and go, "Ah!" and they're perfectly fine. They're injured, but they're perfectly fine. You can't just go, "Oh, well, it's realistic." If they're fine after a point-blank shotgun blast to the face when you take a 22 to the shoulder and you fall over on your ass. That's not realism. Yeah, I know, I'm yelling a lot about this game, but as much as I wasn't excited about it, I kind of wanted to be proven wrong. And in a sense I was. Like I said, the story's great. I really do want to finish the story. Mainly because it's, like I said, it's a retelling of a game that's been done before, but it's an interesting way of doing it. I like the zombies. I thought they should have had more zombies and more human enemies in it, to be honest. But it got repetitive for me. I should be able to predict, oh, here's a swimming puzzle, I need to find a pallet. Oh, yeah, another pet peeve of mine that's in this game. I don't know if anyone, when it was still, no, wait, because we never fixed it. Anyway, the top 10 I did last year was top 10 games you have to play for yourselves, mainly because critics were either right at them being good, no one played them, or wrong about them being good and they utterly sucked for some players and maybe not for others. God of War 3 sucked for me. That's because I'm when I get into a story, I get into a story, and God of War 3 for me just ruined the story. It retconned everything. Like Zeus, giving you the lightning bolts in the first game, and then third game comes around, oh, Zeus never did that. Zeus was trying to kill you the whole time, and no, he wasn't. There's a scene where Kratos is having sex with Aphrodite. I would say go with it, but it's Kratos and it's Aphrodite. It makes sense. Aphrodite's lesbian maidens are in the back, and one of them goes, "This game's rated M for mature audiences." They did something like this in The Last of Us. And it was very, very stupidly implemented, so much so that I had to laugh when it happened. To view your objective, you click L3. At one point, Joel asks Tess, "Where should we go?" She goes, "I don't know, let's have a look." And the L3 prompt pops up. This wasn't a tutorial. Yeah. Shit like that needs to stop unless it's, say, Deadpool. Or, you know, a game where the fourth wall is supposed to be broken. Not something that's serious and then all of a sudden, hey, we're going to break the fourth wall now. That really aggravated me. It's sad for me, though. Like I said, I wanted to be impressed with this game, and graphically and story-wise I was. But they were going for Telltale's Walking Dead and ended up with a slightly better version of Walking Dead Survival Instinct. That's not really a compliment. That's like saying, well, my legs are broken, but it was by accident, not on purpose. But, you know, see for yourself. You might disagree. I'm not going to hold that against you. Anyway, until later, probably Deadpool next week, I will see you guys later.